right, folks, like Rob said, I'll be kind of the main speaker for this presentation, I suppose. However, Rob will be making fun of me at times throughout the presentation, which is nothing new. He does this all the time.
Yeah,
So just sit back and relax and really enjoy that. I know I will. So anyway, the whole topic today is around starting strength. So we're getting into the practical ideas and keys on, how to navigate going to the gym for the first time, if that's something you plan on doing. And what are some of the kind of key basic concepts that you'll want to keep in mind when like moving into a new strength program or trying to maybe advance from where you are now? So let's just jump
perfect.
right in here.
I'll just do like full disclosure as well. Um, so Marco and I go to the same gym. So we go to the university gym. And I like it because I get to hang out with Marcos a little bit. He's a fun guy to hang out with. So typically when I walk in, I see Marco at the back. He's in the kind of yoga area. He's kind of got these light hand weights. He's doing the stretches with the girls type thing. And say, Marco, you come with me to the big boy side. And he usually does. He usually flexes himself at that point.
Yeah,
So
that was zinger number one. So we're already starting hot here. Thanks a lot. I have so much confidence going into the rest of this now, as you can see. But I got to give a disclaimer too. So I am not a certified personal trainer, exercise physiologist, or physician. So, right. So I don't have nothing I say is going to be medical advice. However, I do have quite a bit of training experience. I am a former university level athlete and I've played a few different sports in my time, the university level being football though. And then I'm also the humble, thank you to Rob, program coordinator for the Social Cancer Quality of Life Research Lab, and I have my Bachelor's of Science in Health Promotion from Dalhousie University. So those are my declarations right there. So just a quick agenda for today. We're going to cover some pretty, like, very simple topics. So first of all, why even start strength training in the first place? What's the benefit there? Number two, what are you going to do the first thing you walk into the gym? If you've never gone before, it's a forest of metal and loud clanging. How do you navigate that? What are you going to bring to the gym? What are the practical things that you'll need to bring with you? How do you know which strength exercises to use, which is much more simple than people might realize? How much do you need to strength train? How often to see results? How hard should you be going? And then we'll do a little summary and then our breakout room discussion as usual.
I just want to say, on a very serious note, is really strength training adds something extra. I mean, you can power walk, and that's super important. But I'm telling you, if you can stress your muscles a little bit in the right way, it actually changes the chemistry in your brain. So I really want you to take this seriously, that strength training should be part of your routine if you're well enough to do it. Um, and the other thing I'm thinking about is like, why would we be pushing this, when you are already kind of taking care of yourself? Well, I think about if you're going to travel somewhere and you're stuck in a hotel and there's no way to go for a power walk because you're in the city, sometimes the only thing you have is the gym, like the hotel gym. And so I want you guys to feel confident to be able to go into any little gym anywhere, pay the $10 at the gym next door. I want you to feel confident that you would know what to do going into the gym. And that's the purpose of the presentation for me.
Yes, absolutely. And perfect segue into the swath of benefits that you can experience from strength training. So you'll notice so many parallels too with the program. So number one, better sleep. That's a huge key factor in just overall health. Increases muscle and bone mass. So we're improving physical function, just being able to move better, feel better. Yeah, careful, Rob. Let's not break anything. Um, Improving balance and reducing risk of fall. So huge, especially if you're a bit older in age, or maybe you have some osteoporosis, or even folks with advanced cancer, you want to mitigate those fall risks. So hugely helpful there. Decreasing symptoms of depression and anxiety. So improving mental health. Again, what the whole program is based around essentially. Lessens fatigue, better brain function. Rob just alluded to that as well, adding a little extra with the strength training, and then improving quality of life altogether. So this is a pretty good justification for starting a strength program, in my opinion, right? Even if you don't plan on becoming, the next Mr. or Mrs. Olympia, you can at least be a healthier version of yourself tomorrow. So,
Excellent.
yeah. Moving on to the next one here. So, going to the practical steps. What's the first thing you do when you walk into the gym? And I can, you know, get on your level and say that I understand, especially if you go into a busier commercial gym or something like that, it can be an intimidating environment. So there are some social barriers in a sense, often self-imposed, but there is anytime you start something new, there is an intimidation factor. You feel like you might be judged. People who are there might think they're better than you. So a few different, mental barriers to overcome. But my first recommendation would be just to get in there and warm up.
Yes.
That's like the key thing. All right.
That's so
Any
smart.
Yes, any person who, wants to be lifting for the long term and getting that, sustainable strength gain over time should be warming up before their sessions. So why should that be the case? A quick and simple warm up is going to help you reduce risk of injury, first of all. It's going to improve your athletic performance and increase range of motion. So these are all kind of key things in, making your strength training a sustainable practice as opposed to, going in and maybe even phoning it in a little bit. A warm up is a surefire way to improve the quality of the session and make sure you're staying healthy. So highly recommend doing that. And it doesn't have to be, there's no perfect warm up. And one theme of this presentation will be there's not going to be a one size fits all or perfect way to do things. There's a variety of approaches. It's really what works best for you. So your warm up can be dynamic. It can be a bit more athletic if you like to move around a bit more. You can do a few minutes on the treadmill or the bike or something like that. Or it can just be even some lighter sets of whatever strength movement you're going to be doing. So let's say if you wanted to be doing some, I don't know, let's say a machine chest press, just doing a few reps with a very, very light weight to just get the blood flowing, get used to the movement is totally fine. Great way to warm up.
Okay, so Marcos, when you walk into the gym and you see like me lifting some heavy weights and you're kind of intimidated, what's your
Yeah.
go-to warm up? Like, how do you get yourself going?
To get you out of my mind? Well, I think at that point, I'm gonna have to, face away from wherever you are. I'm
Okay,
gonna have
fair
to
enough. Base
dissociate
weight.
from the environment, which maybe not be the healthiest way, but at this point, it's just like I got to do something to get Rob out of the
On your
mind.
mind. How
Yeah.
about this? How about because what I see is Marco sees me like moving the big muscles and he goes over to the elliptical and he like faces away from me. So why don't we all stand up right now and pretend we're on the elliptical just for a second here so we can kind of warm up.
Yes, I love that. I love that.
So that's the first thing you guys can do. Don't be intimidated. Just go find somewhere where you can do elliptical or a little treadmill, just something that allows you to like get moving, get yourself in place. You know you're in the right place, et cetera, et cetera. That's
Yes.
yeah, good.
Well said. Well said. So another like very key or simple tip is just if you want to get warmed up a bit faster, especially if you're a person who doesn't necessarily want to be at the gym for too long, and the warm up you might feel like you're extending the session, just wear some warmer clothes for that part. Honestly, because when we say warm up, there's there's a literal and figurative sense to that. And we're also referring to literally getting the body at a higher temperature, right? So the muscles are a bit more lubricated, we can move them a bit better, and again, increasing range of motion, things of that nature. So I like to personally wear like a sweater and some sweatpants to do that. And then once I kind of go through that whole process, I'm okay to go into my normal gym attire and get ready with the first set there. So an example warm up, Rob just demonstrated what being on an elliptical looks like very well, I think. He's done that before, obviously. This is one that we kind of just started doing for the live strength workouts that we did a few times throughout the program. So it's very simple. Again, this could be a totally fine warm up for you. It gets the whole body going. So I like to just do 2 sets of arm circles, go in each direction just to warm up the shoulders, warm up the traps, get the upper body moving a little bit.
Yeah, go for it. Stand up if you want.
What are you saying, Rob?
Stand up if you want, folks.
Yeah, stand up if you want. You can do this if you want. All right, I'll stand up too.
Yeah.
All right. So the hips, the arm circles, excellent way to get the shoulder mobility and warm up the shoulders, especially. Um, the hip circles, moving down more to the trunk. All right, we're getting more of that rotation in the core and the hips. If you're me, you'll feel lots of cracking in the hips. That's okay, as long as it doesn't hurt. Oh, there's one right there. And then the last thing is the 2 sets of high knees. And I just like to do that because it kind of engages the whole body. It's a pretty practical, common movement that you would do. Walking is just one of those, you know, staple movements for the human body. So it's never a bad choice. All right. And with that one, I also like to try and drive the knee up as high as I can in a way that's still comfortable and feeling safe and all that. At the back of your mind, you should always be thinking, how can I do this as effectively and, as kind of achieving the highest level of challenge that I can while also staying within that threshold and limit of your current ability. So this is an example warm up. Try it if you want to. If it looks ridiculous and if you don't like how my face looks, frankly, try something else. You can do that. Okay.
Yeah, look
What
like them instead. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, thanks. Thanks for that. So what should you even bring to the gym? That might sound like a stupid question, but I think it's worth discussing. So, workout clothes, of course, I wouldn't recommend wearing jeans. I've seen people do that before. I've seen jeans be ripped in the gym. You don't want to be that guy. That's quite embarrassing. So I would recommend something that fits you, well. You don't want to have to worry about your pants falling down, but nothing too tight either that may restrict your movement. Again, we want to kind of achieve a good range of motion. I'll explain what that means a bit more later. But workout clothes, good idea. I think this cannot be overstated. Hydration, 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 key for performance and overall health. So water is always a good idea. However, I do recommend, and there is literature on this, that I did not put this in without doing some research. Bringing a healthy electrolyte drink can be a
Mm.
really good idea to replace some of the minerals that are lost, especially if you're sweating excessively. If you're a person like me, I run very hot naturally. So when I work out, I sweat profusely. So I always like to have a little electrolyte with me just for that intra workout nutrition, making sure that I'm kind of sustaining my energy at least throughout the session. So a couple really good examples of that would be like lemon water or coconut water, very healthy sources of electrolytes. I would recommend probably avoiding sugary electrolyte drinks like Gatorade or Powerade. I think we've talked about that in our Healthy Drinks Week
Yes.
segment of the
Yes.
program as well. So I'm just kind of corroborating that at the same time. Most of these things are really parallels with what you would hear in the program anyway. Very similar. Um, and then kind of moving into the idea of like just how can you make this more enjoyable for yourself? If you like music, bring some headphones, right? Gym music on average is atrocious in my opinion. So if you have your own playlist or you like certain songs, bring some headphones. Might be a good way to focus as well. I know for me, I don't like to talk a lot at the gym. I don't like when people come and I'm not that I'm not friendly, but I don't like when people try to, make it a social event. I'm there to do a certain thing. It's kind of my time to decompress. So having some headphones might be a helpful way to lock in.
Marcos, are you like a country music type guy? Is that what you're listening to on your headphones?
I like it all around, honestly. I've been known to listen to some country, which is my family is not proud of with my Greek heritage, because that's not really a thing there. Um, but I like a little bit of rap here and there, a little bit of rock and roll, some hip hop for if you're the kids and you're nasty.
Yeah.
Um, that's it all counts. And I
Nice.
like this one too. I had to throw in this here, a like-minded friend who's also invested in their health. So kind of going I mean, this is, very contradictory to what I just said about not really enjoying the social aspect, but social support is a huge part of the program. And it's always nice, honestly, to have people in your community who, have the same goals as you. And so if you, let's say, your New Year's resolution is, I want to start going to the gym, I want to get a bit stronger and hit these milestones by this time next year. And if you have a buddy who can hold you accountable and vice versa, then that's never a bad thing, especially if you can increase that level of focus and intention during the session. So if you're a social person and you think that would help you, you might want to give that a try as well. Training partners can be fun.
Invite a friend, invite a family member. Yeah.
Yeah, but not Rob, because he'll tell you that you're doing everything wrong and to go
Well, you
away.
just feel inferior is the problem when
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm not even going to comment on that.
exactly,
Yeah, I'm
exactly.
just going to move on
Move
on to the
on.
next slide. Jeez. Okay, this is an interesting question and one that people on YouTube and the internet will overcomplicate, and I think that is a crime. So, how do you know what exercises to use? Let's say you're trying to create, you don't know where to look, you're trying to create your own strength program. Or even so, if you're looking at a variety and you're trying to decide which one might be the best, what's kind of the filter that you would go through? Number one, there's no such thing as the perfect exercise for any muscle or situation, okay? So let's just get that idea out of our mind. So if you're on YouTube and you see a video that says, do this exercise for the best growth, that person is only trying to get your attention for views. It is not that simple, okay? There's a variety of approaches to employ. So, with that being said, some exercises might work better for some than others. We all have different skeletons, our muscles insert differently, we all have different genetics. So, there's going to likely be some variation in how we do things and which exercises we feel better or more effective for us compared to others. That's totally fine. I recommend experimenting. So even if you're part of the program, if you're part of Cancer Pep or Pictou County Pep, you have 6 months to do a strength program if you only plan on doing it during that 6 months. So that's still quite a bit of time to try out some different exercises, try out some different programs, see what works best for you. Ideally, if you enjoy the exercises, you are more likely to stick to it. And most importantly, if the exercise feels good on your body, if it feels good on your joints, your ligaments, your bones, then you should probably keep doing it. The idea, again, is sustainable practice. So you want to be able to do this well for as long as possible. So the healthier you are, the less you get injured, and the more joy and, contentment you get from doing this, the better results you'll get. There's so many factors that can play into the results you'll get from, adhering to a strength program. But the two biggest things are consistency and effort. So effort over time, that's really what we're looking for. So I did create a sample workout and this is like so similar, guys, to the program that we already have in the Cancer Pep and Pictou County Pep, but it's just like in a different context. So if you are going to a gym instead, you have access to this kind of equipment and machines. This can be a totally fine workout. There's nothing crazy special about any of these exercises. It's a full body routine targeting all the major muscle groups in the body. And that's just that. You can swap any of these out for other exercises that target those same muscles. You'll still get excellent results. You might get a bit better results depending on how some of those exercises feel for you and, again, how sustainable it is for you. But nonetheless, a chest press is just as good as a dumbbell press or a bench press with a barbell. A leg press is just as good as a body weight squat or a barbell squat or even a lunge or something like that. Um, the pull downs could be the same as a row or pull ups or chin ups assisted, anything like that. And the same goes for all of these. Okay. So there's really no one size fits all. It's what works best for you. Try some things out, see what feels best. That's the key takeaway.
You know what? I really like this, Marco, because the way I think about it is like look at the different muscles in your body. So I have biceps. I probably need to do something to help with my biceps. I have triceps at the back of my arm. I probably need to do something to press on my triceps. I have quads. I got like leg muscles. I probably should do some presses. I've got some back muscles. I should probably do something to extend my back muscles. So you really can look at your body and just say, what exercise feels good for me that would put a little bit of strain on that particular muscle? So I love this workout. This is great.
Excellent. And this can only just be one day too. If you're doing a full body routine like this, for example, same as the routine we have through the programs, you might want to, switch up, have some different exercises, especially if you are, going to the gym multiple times a week just to get that volume in. But again, you can choose whichever exercise you want.
Excellent.
Okay. So, how often do you need to strength train to see results? So when I see results, I'm really just referring to, do you feel like you're getting stronger? When you look in the mirror, do you think you might see a little extra muscle on there? That type of thing. But I will say before we even start the slide that the best indication that you are building muscle is that you are getting stronger on the specific movements that you are performing. So that's sort of why that's one reason anyway why it's important to be following a program and to kind of track your progress over time is to actually be able to see to compare from pre to post. Am I actually getting stronger? Can I do more in this movement than I did a month ago or 2 months ago? If you are stronger, if you are able to lift a bit more weight or do a couple more reps, then you most certainly have gained some muscle. Just to point that out. So you actually might need less volume than you may think. So on average, 2 to 3 sessions per week is perfect for significant results. So again, we're not all trying to be, professional athletes here, professional bodybuilders or powerlifters, what have you. If you are just a person focused on health, getting a bit stronger, improving your outcomes over time, 2 to 3 sessions will work beautifully for you. And then with that, about 2 sets per major muscle group per session.
So
And then
Mark,
about
yeah, just I want you to explain in just really simple language, what's the difference between a rep and a set?
yes, good question. So a repetition would be, so let's say I'm doing bicep curls as my exercise. A repetition would be one like action of the movement. So if I'm doing a bicep curl, this would be 1 rep, for
Okay,
instance.
so
So
one
then,
rep, 2 reps,
yes,
4 reps.
exactly. So the rep refers to the like each individual action
Yeah.
of the exercise.
And a set.
Set is the sort of amalgamation of all those reps. So you normally want to do, so right here, the recommendation is about 8 to 12 reps per set. So that's about 8 to 12 of these for 2 rounds. So the sets would kind of count for how many times you would go through that repetition.
Great. Perfect.
So those are the kind of the basic numbers here. Around 2 sets per major muscle group per session, between 8 and 12 reps is typically a good range to kind of build strength and also add a little bit of muscle here too. And it can also be time-based as well, like our program is. You don't have to necessarily count reps. You can sort of put a stopwatch on your phone or something and let it go for like 30 seconds, but still try and make sure that you're, bumping up the amount of work that you're doing each week or so, just to make sure that you're kind of getting that progressive overload. So when I refer to that, I just mean you want to incrementally challenge yourself week by week to ensure that you're actually kind of adapting to that stimulus.
Yeah.
And that's one of the most surefire ways to actually gain some progress over time. So that's the very simple gist of it. Doesn't have to be more than this. That coupled with your aerobic exercise throughout the week is a great way to just stay physically fit overall. So, next big question is how hard should you be training? This is something that people debate extensively to this day. So, using a weight or resistance that you can lift with good form for around 10 reps, again, kind of falling between that 8 and 12, is probably a good sign that you're challenging yourself enough per set. So when I say good form too, that's a little subjective, but the idea is that you're not, again, doing, let's say we're doing bicep curls. I don't want to see anybody doing this. All right? That's not good form. A good form in some sense just means that you're focusing on the target muscle. So if you're doing bicep curls, for instance, you're focusing on your biceps, you really want to be using those with intention. So I'd kind of just want to be flexing at the elbow with a nice pace. All right. We don't need to be swinging the weights around. And there's some practical implications around that as well. The more you control the weight, the more stimulating that'll be for the muscle. So the more growth and strength you'll gain. And it's just overall safer for you. You can reduce injury quite a bit by focusing on technique and making sure that you're not, being reckless with your lifting approach.
Can, can,
So,
can I ask you that question then? How, like, if I lift my weight really slowly and have a really, really, really good form, is that as good for me as doing it fast? Should I be doing it fast or slow? What's your kind of general rule there?
Again, it kind of depends on what works, what feels best for you. You don't want to be, focusing. So there is caveats, obviously. There's nuance. So you don't want to be wasting your time and like, dropping the weight for like 5 seconds and, drawing the session out for so much longer because of that.
Too
I
long.
normally say as long as you can count at least 1 or 2 seconds on the way down, what we call the eccentric part of the movement, that should be sufficient. We just don't want the joint to be locking out too fast or the muscle to be stretched under load too fast. Because again, those are the factors that can kind of increase your risk of injury. And the last thing we want is for someone to get hurt and put themselves out of the gym for some time because of that. So you don't need to be too, conscientious about that because most people aren't going to be using enough weight to hurt themselves anyway. But just making sure you're controlling it, that you're actually feeling the muscles and not your bones and ligaments and joints and things like that. That's a good way of telling that you're on the right track there.
Excellent.
So it should be challenging, but not to the point of excessive pain or fatigue. So if you're feeling a lot of pain or like even too much of a searing pain in the muscle, but especially if you're feeling it in the joints or the bones, that's an indication you should probably stop and potentially seek medical attention. Or if you're getting excessively tired. So if you start to feel very dizzy or faint, you're losing some color in your face, again, a good time to stop the session there and maybe seek some medical advice if you need it, if those symptoms are persisting. So a good way to avoid this, a good way to avoid overexerting yourself, which most people are not going to be guilty for anyway, is to at the beginning of the program just start out the easiest, the on the easiest level. And the in a good way that or a good example is our strength program as well. We start at level 1, which allows you to do the exercise for about 20 to 30 seconds, and then you have a good amount of rest. And then every time you move up in a level, so level 2, you're doing a bit more work, a little bit less rest, and further as you advance throughout the levels. So that's the prototypical way to approach a strength program. The first couple weeks will be the easiest, and then you progressively, slowly add a little bit more weight, a little bit more intensity each time, and that incremental progress is what's going to get you stronger over time. So that's kind of the key. Doesn't have to be, so you don't have to be too technical with it. Let's just say the first week of the program, you're starting with 10 reps for every exercise for those 2 sets. The next week, try to do 11 reps. The week after that, try to do 12 and just keep following that progression. It can be very, very linear. But again, if you don't hit those achievements, that's okay. It's just trying your best, trying your best. And those are my 2 cents there.
Yeah.
So that also being said, you don't need to go to failure every time. So when I'm referring to failure, I'm saying if you're doing an exercise, you don't need to be, fighting for your last breath to get that last rep in the air and then you pass out and drop the weights everywhere when you're done. You don't need to go that far. It's totally fine to have a few reps left in the tank, a little bit of energy left when you leave the gym, because again, that will help it be sustainable. You won't accumulate too much fatigue all at once. And again, just making it a long-term practice. We want to be in this for the long term, right? So managing our fatigue, not pushing ourselves too far is a great way to go about that. All right. So I like this physical model here too. This is a great kind of tool for tracking how intensely you're working out per session. So this term here is called rating of perceived exertion, or RPE for short. And it's just a way to track your intensity basically. So most people, especially at the start of a strength program, want to be working in this 6 to 7 range here. So this 0 to 10 is just the scale for which you would measure how intensely you're going. These little text boxes kind of give you the idea for or like a visual for how you might be feeling based on where you are on the scale, and then also the heart rate would kind of align with that as well. But kind of being in the 6 to 7 range, again, referring to what I said earlier, it is still challenging. You know, you're breathing more quickly and deeply. You can't hold a steady conversation anymore. So you know it's slightly difficult. But you're definitely not here in the maximum exertion area where you're about to pass out and you've given it literally everything you have. All right, so working in the 6 to 7 RPE zone, which means you're just around, giving 60 to 70% effort in that session is a great way to go about it. And then each week, just adding a little bit more intensity, adding 5%. So, and that would naturally be done by just adding another rep or increasing the weight a little bit. Those kinds of manipulations will be a good way to just make sure you're staying on track in that way. So it doesn't need to be that complicated. Um, so overall summary, what did we talk about here? Strength training for one is really, really good for you. So just try and do it if you can. All right. It's one thing I didn't even say at the beginning was it's safe for the vast majority of people, despite your afflictions. So obviously not, excluding anybody there. There are exceptions, but more often than not, you can do a little bit of strength training. Remember to warm up. This will save you in the long run and will improve your sessions in the interim as well. So, good idea to do. And feel free to do my dynamic warm up if you want. Um, yeah, or do whatever that is. Um, Staying hydrated. So again, having your water, maybe try a little electrolyte drink. Doing whatever works best for you. It's a good idea to keep that hydration at the front of your mind. Make training fun for you. We want to do this for a long time. We want to increase adherence. Try to make it enjoyable. Find a way to enjoy the process. Have a plan, follow a program, know what you're doing, have an idea for the day. If you don't get to follow that program that day to the T, totally fine. Who cares? Right? I had a coach that once told me, you will never, ever regret modifying a session, especially if you're not feeling it. Right? Especially if you've been doing it for some time now, you've accumulated a lot of experience within your body. You're not going to lose any gains overnight like that. All right. So keep that in mind. Follow program, but it doesn't have to be perfect by any means. And listen to your body. So if you're like me last week and you couldn't stand up without throwing up, then probably not a good idea to go to the gym. Save yourself, live to fight another day. That's my motto. And then again, just gradually challenging yourself over time. Want that incremental progress. That's how we will see the strength gain. And it just feels good to get stronger, right? To be able to know that you could do a bit more today than you could last week or a few months ago. So, incremental progress is the way to go.